Welcome back. This is it, the final episode of the first season of Interstorm Games Presents. My name is Richard Cree. Michael Head is behind the camera, and Piper unfortunately cannot be with us at this time, but she's here in spirit. I know she'd love to be playing with these games if she was here. But you know what? This is it. 5 through number 1. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight to it.
And 5 chasing.
My number 5 game is Trajan. Trajan is probably the highest debut I've got on this list this year. And Trajan is a worker placement game of sorts with a twist. In Trajan, you have your player mat. And your player mat are these pictures of these bowls. And so you're going to have action markers. And each turn, you're going to start the game with action markers in each bowl. And then on your turn, you're going to pick up the action markers out of one bowl and drop them one at a time into subsequent bowls, working clockwise. And then wherever you stop, that's where you're going to, that's the action you perform for that turn. And so what's going to happen is options. There's just so many options in this game. Let me start, I kind of get ahead of myself here. Let me show you the board. The board, there has a lot of stuff you can do. First, I mean, there's the back of the board. Look at that. That's just awesome. The player boards are kind of cool like that, too. Nice little zone feel. Just a little added extra touch. But the board, you want to talk options. You can, if you want. Send your workers to conquer lands. If there's a tile on that land, when they first get there, they can take the tile. Otherwise, you try and hold it so you can earn the victory points at the end of the game. There's trading you can do. Depending on the ships they're available, that are showing, the size of the ships that are showing, you can turn in certain sets of goods for victory points. This is a construction. You want to try and do set collection over here. You have to kind of build in a perpendicular, not perpendicular, but just in rows or columns to collect the sets. If you play over here at the forum, just take a tile, no problem at all. Here at the gate here, you would you can pick like a goal that you would take. You could put it on your player sheet in these spaces, and then the goal tiles actually have color combinations on them. So here you can see, I'll actually take one out of the bag. I'll set the board down for a second, take one out of the bag. So here, if I can get a blue and a pink in that square, I can get 4 victory points and plus 2 tile to use later in the game. Down here in the Senate, just all you're doing here, I'm going to play here. Boom, I'm taking points, automatic points, automatic points. The next person gets more points, and more points, and more points, and more points. These sound, you can see over here, these little kind of like Ten Commandments style places. Those are just victory, any game victory conditions that you can pick up. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff you can do. The addition of the Mancala aspect of the game, where you're trying to line up the right number of, excuse me, not the right number, but the right combination of colors in these bowls is just, to me, it's ingenious. I love it. I think it's great. There's also a demand system set up in the game, so each game, or each round, excuse me, the players are going to have to supply their city there's certain demands, whether they want entertainment, whether they want food, whether they want religion, and you're going to have to it's going to be secret demands. You're not going to know what it is. You have to try and hopefully, hedge your bets enough that you can either meet them or suffer the least detriment possible by not meeting it. And there's just so much going on in this game. So many ways you can score points. Almost everything you do can get you points or set you up to score points. Down here you can see the +1 that I showed that tile that gave you +2. You would actually, this is an opportunity to do the action. It would give you double the action, and you would choose which action you would do. So again, lots of choices, lots of options. It's a game I don't get to play enough, in my opinion. There is a lot going on, and so a lot of players who like lightweight games aren't that willing to jump into it. But while there's a lot going on, there's really the core game is that Mancala movement, and so once you've got that down, it's just making a choice as to what I want to do. Where do I want to get my points from this round? Essentially, how can I set myself up for later in the game? The Roman theme to me just enhances the game. The components are excellent. Everybody, you get workers in the shape of people. So your workers are a little, you can see here on the camera, actual little people. And you have bigger important people. These are actually your generals when you're going out to conquer the lands. They even give you like a little Trajan gate to know to put on your board to mark where you're trying to move things to. It's just there's just so much going on. This is I love games like this where there's just so many ways to act that it's very difficult to get shut out. It's very difficult to get just totally left behind in this game just because there is so much to do. And that is why it's number 5 on my top 100 of all time. I mean, I think it just came out this year and it's already like jumped this high. That's how wonderful and fantastic and amazing this game is. And if you don't speak English, they even throw in rule books for a couple of other languages for you too. I think most games do that nowadays, but it's not that big a deal. But it's just more stuff to flip through. At any rate, my number 5, Trajan.
Number 4 is Thunderstone.
Alright, we're up to my number 4 game. My number 4 game, for those who've been following the list all along, we've seen Ascension, we've seen Dominion, we've seen Legendary. So in addition to worker placement, deck building is one of my preferred game systems. I like it a lot. That's why my number 4, if I can haul it out here, is Thunderstone. But wait, there's more, because there's also Thunderstone Advanced. Both of these boxes are just full of cards. Cards in there. I mean, you thought Dominion had a lot of stuff out for it. Over here, look. More cards. Thunderstone Advanced, you can be thought of as Thunderstone 2.0. And in Thunderstone, what you're going to do is, we talked about Dominion, we talked about Legendary. And it's a deck building game, so you're going to start with a core set of cards. In this case, you're going to have militia, some torches, some daggers, or like the base Thunderstone, original Thunderstone here. Militia, some daggers, torches, some rations. That's going to be your core hand, and then each card is actually going to have on it. Of course, now I'm not going to be able to find one that does, because I have combined all of my cards into a what's called Epic Thunderstone over on this side. So here, this is actually one of the heroes. So imagine Dominion, as I try and get closer here and like totally become awkward for a moment. Dominion meets Dungeons and Dragons, and that's Thunderstone. You're going to be, each turn, you're going to have your cards, you're going to be building it so you can either go to the village and purchase weapons, or in this case, here's a hero, this is the Phalanx Footman. You can try and purchase, there's spells you can purchase, there's food items you can purchase, light items, because you're in a dungeon and the dungeon has darkness. And here is the board, the dungeon board. So you're going to have your deck of monsters, and each turn they're going to come out and slowly move from the dungeon out towards the village. And so you want to stop them before they escape. So here you have rank 3. This is the deepest depths of the dungeon. Thunderstone has what's called a light penalty. And so the deeper the creatures are in the dungeon, the harder they're going to be to fight. And it's because they're hard to see in the dark, you need that light. And so you get a penalty. So here, there's a penalty, a level 3 light penalty, which is -6 to your attack. So you're -6. The first rank itself is still a -1 or level 1 light penalty, which is -2. So basically, for every level of light, it's a -2 attack penalty. So if we look at our Phalanx Footman here, he has an attack +2. That's it. So if he was the only option you had, you're already out of attack just for rank 1. However, with the Phalanx Footman, you get an additional attack, additional +1 attack, and a +1 strength for every other phalanx that you reveal. So you have a ton of these guys. Suddenly, they're super powerful. Now, I said strength. That's one of the other things I like about this. Your heroes have a strength because weapons have a weight. And so only certain weapons can be carried by certain heroes. And each monster, there's different types of monster categories. There's oozes, there's dragons, the typical, undead, those kind of things. And each one has an effect of some kind. So it might be an effect that happens before you fight it, during the fight, or after the fight. Which of course sets up the challenges. There's big monsters, weaker monsters. They come in a big variety, so you can again scale the game to your liking. Excuse me. Later on, in some of the other expansions, they added monster effects that can affect you, so you can discard at random card, gain a disease. We mentioned in Legendary has wounds. Dominion has curses. Well, Thunderstone has diseases, but whereas wounds and curses just clog up your deck in Dominion and Legendary, and Thunderstone, these diseases really can mess with you. They came out with an advanced disease deck where these diseases don't do more than just like clog up your deck. They can cause you to lose points. They can cause you to lose attacks. They can cause you to have to discard a card. I mean, they're nasty, and you don't want them. You want to get rid of them as fast as you can, because not only they're clogging up your deck, they're really bringing you down, man. My Thunderstone, my core set of Thunderstone, I've set up into it was called Epic Thunderstone, and that's one of the other reasons I love Thunderstone so much, is that every single card that I've ever gotten for this game comes into, well, it doesn't come into play, but it's used in nearly every game. So I take all of my weapons, and all my weapons go into 3 stacks. I take all of my heroes, and all my heroes are shuffled together, and they go into 4 stacks. And I take all of the food items, they go into 2 stacks, and all the light items and all the spells go into stacks. And so instead of, I mean, it can be played like Dominion does, where all the stacks are the same card. You can play it that way, but to me it's much better this way, because now everybody's personal deck is different. Everybody's got different weapons, different heroes, different food items, different stuff to go and take that dungeon on, and it really has more of that individual adventurer feel that a lot of other games are lacking. And for me, that just like knocks out of the park. There's not many other games that can top that.
Some more crackers.
You like some more crackers?
Please.
Yes, please. Okay, let me finish this, and I will be more than happy to get you some more crackers, okay? You want to come and join us? Ladies and gentlemen, Piper Cree deciding to come and help us out for a little bit. So that's original. I call it original Thunderstone. Thunderstone, the TOS, the original series. TOG, the original game. Yeah. All right. Recently, about a year or so ago, they came out with Thunderstone Advanced, which took some of the rules tweaks that occurred throughout the expansions of the original Thunderstone and put them into the core game. We also made Epic Thunderstone and Solo Thunderstone. They fleshed out those games more.
Your game.
We'll play with them in just a second. You want to have some? You want those? There's not much to those. With one of the changes they made, one of the I guess enhancements they made, is instead of having the smaller dungeon board that we saw in the original Thunderstone, is you actually now have a double-sided board for Thunderstone Advance, where you have your traditional dungeon. They also, in addition to your dungeon board that you have up here, so this is just this, you also now have places to put the rest of the village. So the guilds and taverns. Here you can put your heroes, you can put your weapons, your marketplace for your generic items and your spells. Then here's regular long spear, torch, and spell. Excuse me, not the spell, but the long spear and the torch. Those are your core cards now that come in your deck. You also have a Thunderstone shard that gives you an enhancement. One of the cool things they've added also in Thunderstone Advanced are familiars. And I think they're called aspects. I think it was a promo, but so if depending on what, you can be a specific type, or avatar, I think is actually what they call it, but I'm not going to be able to find them now that I'm talking about them. That's okay, we'll get it in a second. It's okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to be able to find it in here because the professional that I am, I go and pull all these things out ahead of time, so I won't have to find them at a later date. Oh, it's down there? Well, then jump down there and get it if you want it right now. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait just a second.
I can't get it.
I bet you can.
I can't.
Oh well. Anyway, there's avatar cards that come with the core game. So if you want to be, ooh, I'm going to play as a thief. Well, it gives you thief powers. Or I'm going to be a fighter, and it gives you like little bonuses that make you feel more like a fighter as you go through the core game. In addition to like allowing you to set your deck up like a fighter. One of the other things that the new board did is it says double-sided. So on the flip side, we have the dungeon. On the flip side, you have the wilderness. And so what the wilderness does, it adds a rank 4. But as you can see, the light penalty, because you're outside, is not as bad. So in the darkness, the level 1 darkness is now only a -1 penalty as opposed to -2. And so even though there's 4 ranks, you're only going down to never a -4 attack difficulty. But that wasn't enough for Thunderstone. No, they came back in one of the more recent expansions. They said, what if we had a way to just totally beat the solo player into submission? And so they came out with Thunderstone Siege. So in Thunderstone Siege, you have ranks of monsters that are now advancing upon you as you try and defend your castle down here. This is probably the hardest version of Thunderstone right here. Did I just get kissed by a Thunderstone shard? Oh, see, Thunderstone loves me as much as I love it. In Thunderstone Siege, you're going to try and defend your castle against the advancing hordes, and this is probably the hardest version of Thunderstone there is. I played it like twice, and I've been slaughtered both times. So I'm hoping that maybe I'm just playing it wrong and doing something wrong. I'm probably not. It's probably meant to be that hard. It is a siege after all. But again, this is another game I can just go on and on and on again. I said if you want to play Dominion, I'll play it. You want to play Thunderstone, I'll skip work. I don't know. I won't skip work. We need the paycheck. But I will find some way to play Thunderstone. And I'll be more than happy to teach it, explain it, do whatever. This is an awesome game. This is, as far as deck building goes, this is the pinnacle of what I think it can be. This is, Legendary, you could probably do Epic Legendary with like a big free-for-all with all the villains and all the heroes. I might have to mess with that. But in the meantime, like I said, it's deck building. It's basically Dungeon Dragons, so it's your dungeon crawls. You're fighting monsters with heroes, with weapons, messing with other players, messing with the monsters.
I just placed him.
Messing with Piper. Do what?
I just placed him.
Are you done playing with him? You gonna put him back?
No, I just placed him.
Oh, you're just playing with him? Okay. Well, if you get the chance, just play Thunderstone. But I highly recommend it if you're a fan of deck building at any kind. This is definitely the one to grab. My number 4, Thunderstone, or probably easier to find nowadays, Thunderstone Advanced. Alright, that brings us to my number 3. My number 3 game of all time, up to 2012, is Dominant Species. As I said before, I love worker placement, and Dominant Species does it awesomely. It also incorporates some area control. Because in Dominant Species, you are going to be one of the basic species, be it mammals, reptiles, birds, amphibians, arachnids, or insects. And there they are on the food chain right there. This game, it's a long game. It's a big game. That's a big board I keep losing myself behind. But here you can see the area placement, the area control of it. What's going to happen each turn is, let's see if I can get the worker placement side out. Here we go. Let's do a small board. Alright, as you can, I don't know if you can see, maybe this side you can see. Here's the worker placement part. So each turn you're going to be going through, placing your workers here, and determining what kind of actions you want your species to do to become, well, dominant. So each turn you're going to have the option to lay down tiles to expand the world. There's different tiles. There's jungles, there's savannas, there's deserts. But the key piece of it, what makes it all come together, are these little food chain, I don't know food chain, but they're, and I have a word for them, of course I can't remember it now though, I'm actually on video. But there's grubs, Grubs are what the insects eat. Seeds for the birds. The desert, the meat for the reptiles. The water for the amphibians. I'm sorry, grass. Grass is insects. The grubs are for the. But these are like your evolutionary, I guess, for lack of a better word, strength. So insects, they're going to start with 2 grass. Mammals are going to start with 2 meat. Arachnids are going to start with 2 grubs. Birds with seeds. Reptiles with the sun, the desert. Amphibians, whoa, look at that, 3! Dominate in 3 areas. And so that's how you can actually determine your dominancy and where you can survive. Because here you're going to be taking these, and one of the options you can have is to enhance, I guess, to mutate your species to be adaptable to all these other regions, or to become extremely adaptable to the one that they're residing in. But that's not all, because you can attack other... you can manipulate the board. What's going to happen each turn is certain options. People are going to have the option to take these, to add them to the board, but some of them are going to get left behind. And so as they get left behind, you're going to have the option to not have them left behind. But after that second chance, anything that drops down below, that's going to come off the board. Or it's going to have to come off of your player board, depending on which set it's in. And so the board itself is constantly changing. The areas are constantly changing as far as what types of life they can support and who can be adapted to that environment. And your own adaptability is fluctuating throughout the game. Excuse me. This is another game. We talked about Trajan. I saw I left options. There are tons of options in this game. And each of these species plays completely differently. And so each one has their own strategy that you need to figure out to maximize with them. And then points. A lot of the... there's a point scoring round, but you actually have to bid to play points, which I thought was kind of cool. If nobody bids to play points, nobody scores points that round. That's kind of neat if nobody's paying attention. And you get to be the one, oh, look me, I'm going to score. But depending on the hex, you might score... You only score once, but for instance, the sea. 4 species can score in the sea, depending on who is the most populous, not the most dominant. Because whoever's the most dominant is instead going to get to choose a card. And that card will allow them special privileges throughout the game. For instance, a mass exodus. Select a tile, move all species there onto 1 or more adjacent tiles, clearing the way for you. Eco-diversity. Gain a victory point for each element disc. See? Element disc right there. That matches an element type on your animal. So you don't want to talk about diversity. If you've gone and mutated yourself out with several different tiles, like you're a bird and you've added water and grass and grubs, wow, you could really have, have a chance to score big there. But again, that's also assuming that people have been placing seed and grass and water and grubs on the board, because you'll have the opportunity to place those items yourself as part of the worker placement aspect of the game. And as with any good worker placement aspect these days, there's interactivity. You can attack other players. So in order to maintain your dominance, you can attack players within hexes that you're already on. I guess, for me, the biggest confusing point, and the one that seems to get most people, is how for the most part, the game is based on the actual domination of the elements. However, it does come to the scoring pieces of it, at least in the scoring rounds throughout the game. It's the numerical domination that counts. But there's just, again, tons of options, tons of ways. The cards really make a difference in the game. It help change up. Effectively, also like game length. They handle the game length. But just look at those tiles. There's tons of tiles. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Because not only do your species have to try and survive each other and the environments that are out there, but look, the Ice Age is coming. Tundra spreading further. Oh, tundra everywhere. You're probably never going to get all those tundra tiles out. But if you'll notice, only one person can score on a Tundra tile, and they can only score 1 point. But it's also very hard to survive. There are no element discs. Well, she's not saying this, but whenever 3 Tundras come together, whatever element disc, because element discs can be placed in the corners as they come out onto the board to help determine what elements are existing in that environment. So they'll be placed like this on the board. When 3 Tundra tiles come together, that element is wiped out. And so that, in situations where you're trying to keep track of how many elements are on the board themselves, then it's a big effect. But again, the Tundra has the player's options to choose when the Tundras come out. There's actually a space on the. As I come back to the board again, we should do a demo of this. That's the problem with the worker placement games. A lot of this is a game playthrough, an interactive playthrough. But unfortunately, it'd be like I place, Mike places, and then we'd wait for you guys to choose a place to play. Then I would place, and Mike would place, and so it would take like 2 months just to place our workers down. Perhaps we can get a third person in. We can just do like an actual demo, and you can watch us. Maybe you can have certain points in the game and have you make decisions. That's an idea we can play around with. But there's just, I mean, you can attack, you can speciate. So you can expand, but again, you have to choose to do that. You have to choose to expand your species out there. This is, and then here's like an example of a track where I said you start with some, and then what's not taken drops down, and then what's left over actually becomes a bad thing. I can't say enough about this game. It would take me forever, not forever, but definitely longer than this. I've probably already gone over my allotted time for just this segment anyway. It's a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic game. I'm hard pressed to find one much better than this. The 2 that are above it just barely scrape above it. This is, I mean, what separates 1, 2, and 3 is like that. This is, I mean, one of my favorite games. If you don't own it, if you like, again, if you just like the light games, it's definitely going to be for you because there's a lot going on here. But once it starts clicking, it's all pretty self-explanatory. The rules are very, very well laid out. It walks you through an entire, like watching the entire placement group. Well-balanced species. Man, I just go get it. If you don't like it, go get it. It's just an awesome, awesome game. Dominant species. My number 3. Alright, Piper has joined us once again as we hit the final 2 games. Final 2, wow. Here we go. With number 2, Alien Frontiers. Alien Frontiers is, you can play with that, is another worker placement game, this time with dice. We talked about Kingsburg before. Alien Frontiers uses that same mechanic, but fixes some of the issues that Kingsburg had, because Kingsburg, excuse me, if you're rolling poorly, sure, there you go. In Kingsburg, if you're rolling poorly for the whole game, you can really get left behind because what you get is kind of based on how well you roll. But Alien Frontiers has all kinds of different places you can play. So, oops, I'm going to cover you up, Piper. We'll do this. We'll try this. So here, a 1 or 2 still gets me something. 3 or 4, yes, it gets me better stuff. But over here, all I need is a pair. So it doesn't matter if it's 1s or if it's 2s, 3s. Pair still works. Here, any combination of dice, I just need to put a dice down and it works. Here, I just need 3 of a kind. Here, it just needs to be equal to or higher than the previous dice that's played. Here, I just need to be in order. A 1, 2, or 3, a 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, or 6. Here, I just need them to add up to 8. So there's lots of different places you can play, and it doesn't necessarily matter that you rolled a 6 or a 5. So even 1s and 2s are working out well. As you can see, the dice themselves have been color-coded for the game. So there you go. And so what you're trying to do in Alien Frontiers is you want to colonize this planet with all your colonies, and the number of colonies you have are going to be dependent on the number of players. And there are several ways you can do that. You can set them here, and again, as I said, just by setting a dice down, you're going to push that colony down until it's eventually on the board. Actually, not on the board, but on the planet. And then once you're on the planet, you have another choice, because where do you put your colony? Do you want to put it where? Do what? No, you just put it at the reds for right now. Look, you got a rocket ship.
I want to play these too.
Just put it at the red for right now, okay?
Aww.
Oh, I know, but we got a big one we're getting ready to look at in just a second. It's going to have a lot of stuff. Oh, spoiler!
I just want to put this down.
Okay, you still play with that. So maybe you want to put it down where tech cards are going to be cheaper for you. Maybe you want to put it down where you can get the Relic Ghost Ship. That's right, you can get a bonus dice if you want to play the fuel and the ore. And there's only 2 resources in this game. There's fuel and there's ore. That's it. And it's the combination of those that you need. What are you trying to reach? Those?
Not those.
There's nothing down there.
Not this.
But you want to put them there?
No.
You want them like that? So you can put them down? Okay. You can put them down. Piper's going to load up the colonies there in the colonist hub. Anyway, each of these little spaces has a power. I mean, land there if you have control, which means you have the most colonies in that area. You control it, you get the power, and there's no victory points. It's just well, actually, I take it back. There are victory points. Landing a colony on the planet gets you a point, and then having control of that colony gets you a point. But the game is, and then the game ends once somebody's landed all the colonies down on the ground. Then you count the points. You don't count the points. You do count the points and see who the winner is. Gosh, this game is there's just so much you do. I just love the fact. I love the rolling the dice and playing the dice. I love the fact that it doesn't matter if you rolled all ones. If you roll all ones, boom, that's 3 of a kind. You can put down a colony instantly. So you're just roll the dice, placing them. You can use you can block other areas, keep other players from going there. The game is meant for 2 to 4, or it's actually 2 to 5. You have some of the faction expansions. Oh, we didn't even talk about the expansion, the factions. Look at this. So beyond that, they've added these factions where your faction gets a core power that you get to use and only you get to use. But you also have a dockable station where someone else can put a dice and pay you to use that power. And there's look at all those they come with. It's fantastic. So many options, so much you can do, and yet still ultra simple. This game, I would classify that as a light to medium weight. If that, we're not going to play with those right now. We're going to get ready to get this other one out.
No, still play Steve.
You can still play with those, but we're just going to play with them over here then. All right? So, with all that being said, if you have not had a chance to play Alien Frontiers yet, it's a must play. You must play this game at some point in time. It's an amazing game. It's, I can't say it is different. I can roll the dice different every time. There's just so much going on, especially with especially if you like the game, you don't have the faction boards. Go get the faction packs. You may notice that there's different things like these are these little discs are the original colonies that came with the game. You can upgrade your colonies and get these nice little fancy colonies. Yeah, sure, get those. And, the gamers who came with these little discs for some of the tech cards abilities, just a positron field or a repulsor field or an isolation field, and then in the upgrade game, you can actually your positron field is actually a nice little 3-dimensional object you can put on the board. Just makes the game look a lot cooler. Not that it really needed it to begin with. But then, oh yeah, this is for one of the factions. You can have a little rover that lets you roll around and do all, wherever he goes to, you can execute that actions if you own that that space. Amazing, fantastic game. I wish this was one we could do for the game playthroughs, but because of the mechanic of the rolling dice, and then the allocating the dice, it was just. Well, that's what we could do. If we rolled the dice, or had Piper roll the dice, and the player could decide where they want to allocate them. So we might think about that. That might be something we could do. But for now, we'll just leave it at my number 2, Alien Frontiers. If you don't own it, go get it. And the end.
I got
Great job.
Number 1, Twilight Imperium.
So here we are now. We've gone through 99 other games. Wow, that's a lot of games. We finally made it to number 1. What is my number 1 favorite game of all time as of the year 2012, or December 31st, 2012? And that is not Dominion. It's a game I keep in the Dominion box. It's called V is for Villainy. Okay, I'm just kidding. V is for Villainy. It's not my number 1 game. It has not been published yet. It's just a free plug teaser for a game that I've been designing. If you live in the Dallas area and you'd like to play it, or like to help me. Actually, it's pretty much been play tested for the past year, a little over a year now. But it shows up at the Dallas Games Marathon every now and then. It was just there this past Thursday. It'll probably be there again in another week and a half, 2 weeks or so. But so if you're interested in playing it, it is a worker placement game where you're a supervillain, and I'll probably do like a special episode just on this. My first game design that's gotten lots and lots of. The last critique it got were the aesthetics were not that great. Things need to be rearranged on the board. And I told them, hey, if that's your complaint, I can live with that. The mechanics are solid. That's V is for Villainy from Thunderstone Games, designed by Richard Cree. Free plug for myself. It's my show. I can do that kind of thing. But oh my goodness, this is it for real. My number 1 board game ever of all time has been at number 1 for quite a while. Will probably be there for the rest of my life, unless something super amazing comes along, like the 4th edition. But Twilight Imperium 3rd edition is my number 1 game. Yes, ma'am? Oh, you did? You stacked them. How about that? Yeah. I told you. I told you there was big stuff coming. How to describe Twilight Imperium? Imagine a space game with everything you've ever wanted in a space game, and that's Twilight Imperium. You want ships? I got ships for you. You want ground troops? You want tanks? You want flagships? You want alien races? Look, you want alien races? Here's some alien races. Oh, what? Want more? Sure. Have some more. Here, have some more alien races. Look at that. Those are all the alien races there are. That's just in one base game and 2 expansions. You want some tiles, some area control tiles? Oh, look. Asteroid fields? Yeah, we got asteroid fields. We got planets. We got free space. I got wormholes. I got nebulas. I got ion storms. I got a wormhole hub. Look, I even got a race. That's a wormhole race. They have their own wormhole. What else do you want? Oh, you want actions? You want to be able to do things in your game? Okay, sure. How'd you like a diplomatic action? How'd you like a political action? Or a production action? Or a trade action? Or warfare? Welfare. Well, depending on how you're handling your empire here, you might be on welfare. I got technology, bureaucracy. Let's call it civilization. I mean, and what's awesome about these actions is that each round you're going to have the opportunity to choose one, and the actions determine the initiative orders. That's why they're numbered 1 through 8. But you're going to take one, and there's actually 2 actions listed on each one. You might be able to tell here, probably not. The type's pretty small. But this top action is what you, who took the card, is going to get, the primary ability. The secondary ability, everybody else is going to have the option to purchase that secondary ability. So everyone has at least the opportunity to do everything for the most part every round if it's been chosen. Oh, but did we mention the political round? Yes, because you have rules of the game, but those rules can change and you can vote on them. You can decide what those rules are going to be. All right. And then objectives. Oh my goodness, there are public objectives for people to achieve. There are private hidden objectives for players to achieve. There are other, oh wow, like, and then leaders. You can have leaders that you can assassinate or kidnap. There's space mines in it. There's ships. Oh my goodness, there's ships. There's fighters. There's cruisers. There's corvettes. There's Death Stars. Come on, Death Stars. You don't believe it's a Death Star? Let's see if I can find one. It's, you guys are gonna make me dig this out. Well, I'm making myself dig it out. Look at this. These are all the ships. Look, I got a flagship. I've got there's your Death Star right there. There's even a little scenario you can put in where the fighters can make a strafing run. Oh, did I say fighters? Yes, I did say fighters because there's fighters in here, and the big little small fighters. Sure. Look, tanks. There's tanks in here for your ground forces to do. There's your ground forces. You can storm a planet. Look, there's a Star Destroyer. It's don't mind. Okay. What else we got in here?
I just say huh.
Look, the battle. You're saying huh? The Battlestar Galactica. I know. Look at all that. And there's 8 players. So eight different colors of all these ships. And that's just the beginning, because then you have the factions. All the factions have their things they can do. They have special technologies that only they can research. They have special agendas that only they can go for. Trade goods. You can trade with opponents. You can trade for resources. You can control the trade. What else do you want in your game? You want like radiation. You can, what do they call it? The Distant Suns expansion. So look at all. These are all the options that you can have in the game. You can have annexation. Those are like hidden objects. So you like place a token on a planet, and you forget the planet. You find out what's going on that planet. There might be extra fighters. There might be a hostage situation going on. The planet might be radiated. It might go supernova. There might be other wormholes on that planet. And this goes on and on and on. The only drawback to this game, the only bad point in this game, which is really not a bad point when you think of the fact that with everything is in it, it's going to take that long to do, as this game is long. This game will take a long time to play. You will need a full day at the minimum. And I say at the minimum, if you start at 8 a.m. and you're playing a 6-player game, you will probably finish around 10 o'clock at night. It takes about 1 hour per player. Plus you figure in breaks and little clarifications. Yes! Oh, you got them all in the one bag. All right. Ta-da. I've got mine laid out. I've managed to get it all to fit in one box. So look, what are these? Oh yeah, it's the mercenary. Mercenaries. Want mercenaries in your game? You got mercenaries too. Like I said, this is space opera. This is as close to Star Wars the experience in a board game as you're ever going to get. Forget Star Wars a card game. Don't forget Star Wars a card game. Don't forget Star Wars X-Wing miniature games. Those are great in their own right. This is just an amazing. This is just a game. This is an experience. If you only get a chance to play this once, you must take it. This is a game. You may like it. You may not like it. I can't imagine somebody not liking it except for the time aspect of it. Although people who like over-complicated games may not like it. I will admit it is like a 42-page. Yeah, 44 pages just for the initial rules. And then each expansion adds another 20 pages onto that. You're looking at 80 pages worth of rules for this game right now. But I know people that read, board game rule books are upwards of 100 pages or more already, so that shouldn't be an issue at all. This is the best game ever, hands down. I said there was like this much space between like 3, 2, and 1. No, there's probably about that much space between 3 and 2. Number 1's probably like out here. There is probably nothing that will ever be able to compete with Twilight Imperium except Twilight Imperium 4th edition. Where does that go? Oh, we put it in the divide stuff. I'll find where we're going to just put it right there. Look, right here. Right there. Like that. Woohoo! Well, again, this is another game I can just go on. There's so much going on here. The best way to find out more about Twilight Imperium is Tom Vassell in the Dice Tower. He did a three-part, I won't say tutorial, but just a run-through of all the stuff that you can do, and not even all the stuff. You just touched on the highlights of what you can do in Twilight Imperium 3. So I go check that out. Just go type in Dice Tower Twilight Imperium 3. It'll come up. Sorry, he did a really good job. He covered the base game. He covered the expansions. Again, this is one of those games that I don't get to play enough just because of the time involved. Might get to play it once a year, once every couple of years. But, this is...
I lost one.
We'll find it. It's all right.
No, it's over there.
Well, then you know where it is, so we can find it. Are you going to get it now? All right. Well, while she gets that, you can go out and pick up... I even lost the... I just knocked over all the tiles in the box. Well, we got a lot to clean up here anyway. Does it fit on there? Can you go on there? Look at that. I mean, just look at the cover. What's on the cover? It's in the game. Everything that's in there. That's just like, you're like, whoa, that looks awesome. It is. It's totally awesome. Twilight Imperium, 3rd edition. My #1 greatest, fantastic, amazing game of all time. Even Piper loves to play it. And that's it. We're done. Alright, well that's going to be it. Well, that's it. I will take a deep breath. That's 100 games, my top 100 games of all time as of the year 2012. Again, thank you everybody who's been with us from the beginning. If you came on in the middle, go back and catch them. Go back and catch up if you want. Wow, I'm out of breath from all that. I gotta get something to drink. But this wraps up season 1. As we said last time, we're going to do start playthroughs for season 2. The voting option should already be up on the website and Facebook at this moment. But for those of you who are just now tuning in, there's actually a decision probably already been made by this point. We're filming this immediately after the previous episode, the 10 through 6, where we made the announcement of what games will be. So Suburbia, Sentinels of the Multiverse, or Tzolk'in. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. Those are 3 options. One of those will be chosen, and that will be our first playthrough where Mike and I will take roles, and then you, the viewing audience, will be the 3rd role. So either be competing with or against each other, depending on what game is chosen. And there will probably do depending on what game is selected, we'll probably do a little intermediate episode for that announcement, and then we'll do a rules walkthrough so everybody's familiar, and then we'll jump right in. So Piper will probably be joining in some form or fashion, and that, or she'll be off watching her Scooby-Doo marathons. Who knows? Again, thank you very much. If you haven't checked us out on Facebook, go ahead and like us there. You can follow us on Twitter. Now that we'll be doing the gameplays, will probably be a lot more tweets about what's going on with that. The website has finally been updated, and it will be updated even further, especially now that the season 2 is getting ready to start. And just again, just a big thank you for everyone that's helped make this happen to this point. You know, we'll keep plugging them out. We'll see how far this goes, all we can do with it. And Piper, do you got anything to say? You want to say? Wow. Well, I hope your reaction has not been the same as hers. You just really took me down there, Piper.
Huh?
You just really brought me down.
Brought me down. No.
All right. I'm going to add all that last stuff out. You're not even going to see it anyway. So I'm going to pick up right here and say thanks again to everybody who's watched us and participated. And we hope you stay with us for what's to come. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ta-da!